From the state capitol to your local government, this is Trenton Outlook.
Hi, I'm Gene McLaughlin. I'd like to welcome you to Trenton Outlook with Senator Sam Thompson. Senator Thompson represents the 12th Legislative District in Trenton. Senator Thompson, thank you for being with us today. Appreciate having you.
My pleasure, Gene.
Senator Thompson, if we could begin, I know we talked off the air about a number of subjects, a number of projects taking place in the state. One that seems to be near and dear to you right now is new legislation for better seatbelt restraints in school buses. Huh? How's that going?
Well, finally we're making a little progress. I had it in for several years, and very recently we did finally have a committee hearing on it, and the bill looks like it's going to be moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is New Jersey actually is one of a limited number of states right now that require any seat belts on their school buses.
Yeah.
Thus, we currently require a lap seat belt.
Yes, sir.
However, this does not provide the kind of protection and safety for the child that a three-point seat belt. That is, one that goes across the lap and also comes across the shoulder,
right,
to keep the child from going ahead and hitting his head.
Mm.
And we have had several nasty incidents of bus accidents here in New Jersey in recent years in which a number of school children were injured. And I think that thus the legislation will not require that they retrofit existing school buses, but only that all new school buses will have to have the three-point belt.
Okay.
Now there is some feedback on that. Thus the bus operators are generally objecting because they think it'll be increased cost for the school buses, and I've heard some outrageous figures of $15,000 to $20,000. Well, considering they're currently having to put the lap seat belts in all of them,
yes,
it
sir.
seems absurd to me to suggest that instead of putting the lap seat belt in, it's going to cost $15,000 to $20,000 to put in the three-point belt.
Plus, they're putting money ahead of safety for these children, aren't they? Really, bottom line.
Yeah. Well.
Well, you're going to say what else?
You know, we currently require the three-point belt in all automobile cars.
Right.
You can't put your kid in there without them being buckled up, et cetera.
Yes, sir.
So,
thank you, Senator. If I can touch on another subject, a lot of discussion lately about state pension reform.
yes.
Star Ledger seems to be filled with articles every week on it. Can you fill us in where we stand?
Sure. Well, of course, right now, many of our retired public employees and our current public employees, our school teachers and so on, are very concerned about their pensions.
Yeah.
That's probably the number one topic that I'm contacted about. Like many of them have been frightened into the feeling that, hey, like tomorrow or something, the pension is going to end and it's not going to be there. That's not the case.
Yes, sir.
We have about 5 different pension funds out there. We have the public employees pension system, we have the teachers pension system, police and fire pension system, the judicial pension system, etc.
Wait, I had no idea there were that many.
And the status of each of these in terms of funding varies. Overall, there's about $80 billion in pension funds. There's about a $40 to $50 billion shortfall. But the one that has the least amount of funding, it's not, if nothing was done, it wouldn't run out of money for 9 or 10 years at least. Some of the others, if nothing was done, would be there for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Back in 2011, we enacted a plan to see that the plans were restore full funding to the plans. Mm-hmm. The pension plans are funded from 3 sources. 1 is employee contributions, 2 is the employer, the state and local government contributions, and 3 is return on investment. The plan that was put forward, it was conceived in 2010 and enacted in 2011, and it would have phased in the state's contribution and employers' contributions over a period of 7 years. Year number 1, 1/7 of the amount, total amount required, 2/7 the next year, 3/7, and so on, increasing each year. In order to protect what you could do in the future, we had to have the economists make projections on what our revenue would run. They said at that point in time, in 2010, we were coming out of the recession, and that state revenue would grow without any increase in taxes over this time period. Their projections said that by last fiscal year, 2015, they projected we would have $3 billion more in revenue than we actually have.
Right, yeah.
We contributed $1.3 billion to the pension plan in 2015, which was far more than had been put in there ever before. However, the 7-year plan said there should have been $2.9 billion, or $1.6 billion more.
Okay.
Well, if we had that $3 billion projected revenue increase that they said, putting $1.6 billion in would have been no problem, but we did not have. So we were flat funding virtually every program in the state. Aid to education, aid to towns to keep your property taxes down, etc. There was no more money. And next year, even more money would be required. In fact, within 3 years by FY 18, we would need an additional $3 billion going into the pension plan, more than we put in this year.
Right.
So there was proposals to increase income taxes and business taxes to generate $1.6 billion this year, but we'd had the same problem next year and the year after if we used that plan. However, I said there were 3 sources of revenue, and one of the sources was return on investment.
Yes.
It was projected that over the 7-year period, or continuing, we would need to have a 7.9% ROI, return on investment. Actually, in fiscal year 14, the last year for which complete data is available, we had a 15.9% ROI.
That's pretty good.
That's almost 8% above what they said was needed.
I'll
On
settle for
$80
that.
billion, that's about $6 billion more came into the pension system from return on investment than was projected to be needed, which covers the shortfall in what the state was supposed to put in last year, this year, and next year.
Right.
So I say what we need to do is go back, sit down, recalculate the plan to reach full funding. We might need to do some tinkering with the pension system too. Those health care insurance are going out at cost too.
Yes.
But I think we can sit down, we can come up with a plan that will work. I tell the retirees and state employees, your pensions will be there.
Give them assurance.
Well, the governor and 120 legislators let our people who serve the state so well sit back there and be on the bread line. Their pensions will be there. We will work it out. We will come up with a formula that will work.
Okay, thank you. Senator, what impact does all this have on the budget going forward, the state budget going forward, all this financial business? What does it do?
As I said, we've been putting more money in the pension plan the last several years than has ever been there before. But as a consequence of that, to do that, we've had to hold virtually all other programs level.
Yeah, because the pot is only so big.
And you can only do that for so many years.
Yes, sir.
Because you've got to have more money going to education, more money into homestead rebates and so on, et cetera. Additionally, we have the Transportation Trust Fund out there, which has to be renewed. Thus, the Transportation Trust Fund, of course, funds our work to repair our roads, to repair our bridges, and et cetera, and our infrastructure is in very bad shape. We need to pick this up, pick up on this. And they managed to scrape it together enough money to keep it going this year, but there will be no money for next year. And it is primarily supported by gas tax.
Right. And has been for a number of years, right?
So right now, attempts are being made to come up with a plan to fund it. And the only real viable option so far has been increase the gas tax. That has not been settled on as that will be done, but we must come up with a plan in a pretty short order, in the next 6 months, to renew this plan.
Is that likely to happen, you think, or is the gas tax likely to be increased?
We have to come up with a solution.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying stand by. We'll wait for developments.
We will get it done.
Okay, thank you. One other thing, if I may, before we go to break, is a lot of discussion generally around the country, here in the state, the minimum wage. The minimum wage right now is $8.38 an hour, I believe, in the state of New Jersey. Do we see this increasing? I mean, they're talking in some states $10 an hour, $15 an hour, some really dramatic increases. Is that feasible, reasonable? What do you think?
Of course, we did recently enact an increase in New Jersey's minimum wage. And in fact, and one is being phased in over a period of time. One thing, you see, the primary argument made regarding minimum wage is that what you hear more frequently is people cannot support a family of 4
right,
this given wage, $8 an hour, $10 an hour, or something like that. But what people have to recognize is not everybody working or seeking a job has to support a family of 4. So to say that the minimum wage should be set on what is necessary to support a family of 4 is a misnomer. In fact, many families have 2 working family members. Today, it's more common as 2 people in a family working rather than 1.
Yes, sir.
So to argue that this has to be, each person has to make enough money to support a family of 4 doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And you have college kids, high school kids, et cetera, need a job, and some jobs just will not support that kind of wage.
Okay, well, thank you, Senator. Senator, it's time to take a break. And folks, please stay with us. We'll be back in a moment with Senator Sam Thompson from the 12th Legislative District.
I'm a firefighter.
A teacher.
I'm a farmer. I'm a barber.
A waitress.
A mom.
We're all part of your community. Every day we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good.
Others not so much.
But that's life. It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty. Something or someone's behavior that doesn't seem quite right.
These are the moments to take a pause.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
It's not about paranoia
or being afraid.
It's about standing up and protecting our communities.
One detail at a time.
Because a lot of little details can become a pattern.
We
trust our instincts.
Just like you should.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Trenton Outlook with Senator Sam Thompson. We're talking about some of the issues facing the state with the Senator right now. Senator, if we could pick up where we left off, another issue in the state that seems to have grown in importance is this whole discussion about Common Core. We just recently had the superintendent of schools from the community in here. We talked about it. What's the position on Common Core in the state? Is there a state position on it, good, bad?
Well, the governor has called for, as instructed, ordered the Commissioner of Education to put forth a panel, which he has, to review the Common Core standards with the objective to making some modifications to them. It's not anticipated that this is going to result in wholesale changes to them, but will be some modifications that will make them more suitable for New Jersey. And of course, while almost on a national level you hear talk about the Common Core, what's been a bigger issue here in New Jersey recently has been the park testing, which is again aligned with Common Core.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is not any change related to park, but rather to Common Core.
So where would you say the position generally is throughout the state with the educators and all? Is Common Core favorably viewed, or?
You hear pros and cons in both ways.
Yeah.
I think more education professionals support the intent of Common Core. You can always quibble with individual passages or parts or so on, but the goal here was obviously good.
Yeah, it seemed to be to homogenize the education across the country.
To see that, yes, our country, international testing and so on suggested students in our country were falling behind a number of other countries. So it was intended to see that every child in the nation reaches a certain level of educational standards and so on. And that goal is good. Of course, you know,
it gets politicized a little bit.
It.
That's what's happened, I think, right? Would you agree? Yeah. That's where it seems to be right now. Here in Old Bridge, it seems to be well received and well.
And then again, there was a lot of criticism related to park, but really the criticisms of the park testing related not so much to the test. There's very little criticism of the test per se. It was more related to the administration of the test than what the content of the test was. Very few people said it was too hard or so on. In fact, some people said it was even easy. The park is intended to replace 2 existing tests. Currently, you have the New Jersey Ask, which is presented in the 3rd grade.
Yes, sir.
And you have the High School Proficiency Assessment Test, which is presented at graduation. It is intended to replace both of these tests. There's no question. There is a problem with the tests that we currently have. When you look at the fact that students pass the HSPAT and 40% of our high school graduates, when they enroll in college, need to take remedial courses.
Yeah,
Clearly,
isn't that something? I
they
know,
did
that's
not meet
amazing.
the standards we want for passage.
That's amazing.
So something needs to be done about that. Is
Right.
park the answer? I don't know, but we have to give it a fair chance to see if it is.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Senator, along those lines with education and with the school system, the Old Bridge schools recently got a very interesting designation, a National District of Character Award. What do you think of that for this school?
I think it was fantastic. I mean, it shows the quality of education being
Yes.
provided here in Old Bridge and the job that our teachers and our administrators are doing there. That's a real significant accomplishment.
It seemed to be a real worthwhile effort, you know, and well received.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Senator, a couple other things before we go, if I may hit them quickly with you. How would you characterize the New Jersey business climate right now? I mean, the township right now is, engaging in a renewed interest in drawing business. How is the state doing in drawing business to the state of New Jersey versus losing business to other states? How do you think we're doing?
It's a battle continuously. I mean, this is not something that's come about this year or last year, et cetera. For years, the policies that were implemented had created a situation that New Jersey ranked among the least business-friendly
Yes.
states in the nation. A recent survey indicated a number of businesses would like to relocate because they think the taxes are too high, the cost of doing business is too high, the cost of living is too high. But we have been working in recent years to try to change that. There's overregulated, overtaxed, and so on. We're trying to create a more business-friendly climate
right.
here. There's a lot of criticism being done relative to what's being done in that area. But nonetheless, we have to turn that around because, the economy determines the quality of our life.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
We have to have the good jobs out there for people. If we have the good jobs, everybody's going to live well.
Everybody's going to want to be here.
If we don't, then we got trouble. And we are doing our best to turn this whole thing around, and we are making some improvements.
Well, that's encouraging. That's encouraging to hear. Senator, as you look at your particular area, you've always been very proactive with your constituents on a number of issues. Is there anything new in that area? I mean, you helped them with their IRS, you helped them with their passports, you helped them with taxes, etc. Anything new taking place there your residents should know about?
One of the most frequent things people contact us about is their health care insurance.
Ah, okay.
And I think we do a fantastic job there.
Right.
My staff, frequently people come in, Medicare Part D, for example. Every year you have to decide what you're going to have. My staff not infrequently saves people thousands of dollars a year on the health care insurance cost. And we do have them coming in talking about their property tax problems and numerous other things.
But you seem to be very, very active in that area. I mean, you see your initiatives all over the place with the residents right over here.
Well, basically as a legislature, you have two primary responsibilities. One is to legislate, make the law,
right.
Modify them as necessary, and the other is to provide constituent services when you have problems. I am a full-time legislator.
Yes, sir.
And I consider constituent service to be even a more significant part of what we do than the legislation we work on.
Yeah, and I think
those
that's
problems
evident.
come up every day.
I think that's evident. Senator, what can we look ahead? Have you looked at the remainder of 2015 into 2016? You put your crystal ball into motion. What do you see? Legislation, challenges?
Trenton's going to be challenging for the next year, no question. We have, as we have had for the entire time that the governor has been there, the legislature is controlled by the Democrats.
Yes, sir.
And when you have one party in control of the governor and another in control of the legislature, there's always contention. But it's made even more contentious by the fact, of course, the governor is running for president.
Right. I was going to bring that up.
Therefore, the partisan activities come into play even more so.
Yes.
And on both sides. But particularly everything the governor does at the moment, the media reports and the Democrats assert is because he's running for president.
Yes.
That's not true.
Right.
It may have an impact sometimes on some of the things he does, but no, that's not the sole reason he does anything. But everything he does will be portrayed in that light.
Right. I think you're right, yeah.
And consequently, in fact, sometimes partisan activities will be taken in opposition to what he's doing because of the impact it might have on him relative to running for president. So it makes the whole situation climate more difficult.
More difficult. Any other challenges you consider facing the state? We talked about the taxes, the pension reform. Any other major challenges coming up that you see?
Well, again, overall, improving the business climate, continuing to recover. We're not as far away from recession as other states are. We got to continue to build on that, et cetera. Lieutenant Governor Giordano has been doing a great job of trying to bring businesses in, et cetera, and we got to keep working on that.
Okay. And last, Senator, paper yesterday, Star Ledger article on special interest groups. They serve a role.
They do, absolutely. Those special interest groups are groups, individuals, or so on, that have a particular concern about particular legislation. And I'm happy to talk with them.
Okay.
Because I like to be informed before I vote on an issue. And not infrequently, when you have a special interest group related to an issue, you have a group out there in support of it and one in opposition. I want to hear both sides.
Really? Okay.
And I'll sort through what information they have out there. I want to be informed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to learn later, well, didn't you know about this before you voted on it?
Right.
And, hey, a constituent can be a special interest group.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Sure.
Anybody that calls and talks and discusses an issue and has points on it. I was at a luncheon put on by the business industry, and they were talking to people about trying to lobby legislators. And somebody was advocating, well, the more people you get to contact the legislator, the better chance. Well, my response to it was, I don't really care whether one person contacts me or 100 people.
Yes,
it's a case of what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
If one person comes in with good, solid, sound arguments, he's a winner.
Mm-hmm.
If 100 people come in repeating the same garbage, it doesn't have any impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you have to say that counts, not just how many bodies there are saying it.
Right. If I may, isn't there a perception, though, that special interest groups are de facto manipulative or on the wrong side of issues or trying to incentivize wrongly or bribe people to take certain points? Isn't that the perception when you hear special interest groups lobbying?
There is a perception out there special interest groups are bad. But again, special interest groups covers groups that you might consider are good. I mean, American Red Cross may come to you on something, and people don't think the American Red Cross is wrong, but they are a special interest group. Hospitals come to see you, hospital association about hospital issues. Sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors, etc. Every group has their own views on issues, and sometimes they can provide you information you wouldn't think about, which may influence you. Now, that's not to say there aren't some politicians out there that you make a contribution and then they ask you what you want, and there you are.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, yeah.
I think that's a rather limited number, that no matter how much you want to give them or whatever, if your position's wrong, most of my legislators, I think, and myself, would say, sorry, fella, I don't care what you got there. It's bad. I can't support it.
Good closing. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for being with us. We really appreciate having you in. Folks, we've been talking with Senator Sam Thompson, who represents the 12th Legislative District in Trenton. He's been very informative today on a number of key issues facing the state. I'm sure we could keep talking much longer because there are just so many issues that are apparent if you read the newspapers on a regular basis. Again, Senator, thanks and take care.
Thank you, Gene.
Be well. I'm Gene McClark. I want to thank you. We'll see you next time on another Trenton Outlook. Take care.